Hello. Happy Saturday. How's it going? How are you on this bright and shiny Saturday? I mean, it's not really bright and shiny here. Well, it's a little bit. It's been really cold here. It's been really awesome. I kind of like it. I mean, for the most part. So, look at how bright everything has to be in order for you to see this coat. And it's pretty zoomed in right now, too. I forgot to show you guys that I had hand sewed the ends of this pocket over here. So the welt is now attached. Such an easy way to do a welt, though, isn't it? So it turned out really nice. And let's see. I fixed my sleeve, that right hand sleeve. Because remember, I don't know why I didn't cut the notches or something. So I made sure that they match the same from left to right now, for the most part. Close enough for me. Hi, Tanya. Hi, Allison. How's it going? And let's see. Oh, and I also checked this casing, the back casing. For some reason, my back casing wasn't going to make it across. I actually don't know why that is, except for the fact that, well, I do know why that is. I added to that back hip, and I never changed that pattern piece. That's why I did that. But it's really funny because when I measured across the back and I measured the piece, it was barely off, but it looked like it was way off when we held it up, didn't it? So I've got that all sorted and it's ready for when I go to attach the casing. And admittedly, this jacket looks so weird right now because of the order in which you sew this casing when it's aligned. You have to have the casing in that center front seam, but you can't attach this yet until your lining's in there so that your draw cord stitching goes all the way through the jacket and scrunches all of it up when you cinch your draw cord. So right now it looks like a belt. I'm sure if people don't know this pattern, they're like, oh, it's got a belt. I would think that. So anyway, it fits really good. I can try it on for you guys. Fits better than my dress form because, I'm a living, breathing person. So, all these are going to be folded properly and yada, yada, yada. There's my zipper, my pockets. And I'm really glad I shortened it by 2 inches because like right now it's right here. I'm on my tippy toes so you can see. But then about this much will be turned under and I think that's great. So it'll be cinched and it will have a hood. Hey Terry, hi Eliza. Nice to see you. So, I think we're in pretty good shape. How about you guys? What are you guys doing? Sorry, it's really bright, so you can see all this good stuff. And I'll probably mention this at the end, but if anyone's a Patreon patron, I posted a poll and I showed you all my finances and everything, and I asked you a question, and it needs to be answered by tomorrow at midnight my time. So please answer it. But the poll's making me feel really good about things, and I'm feeling pretty. It's making me focus. It's great. So I really appreciate it, and I can see I've gotten 31 responses. I'm not sure if that's 31 separate people because I think you can answer more than once. Hopefully it is 31 people because that's almost half of the patrons. Hi Ursula. Sydney. You're making waist cinchers for slacks. Oh, like an internal adjustable elastic thing, Terry? Like that kind of thing? Like on kids' clothes? Those are pretty nifty. That's what you're doing. Okay, so we're going to put the hood together for the outer fabric and the lining fabric. Then we're going to assemble the lining and the sleeves together. And then the lining gets attached to the jacket. First the sleeves, and then the bottom, and then the hood is last, and the hood is what finishes it all. And I see why now they pull it through the hood. It makes perfect sense. So, and if you're doing the collar, it's it's pretty simple. It's actually really simple. The hood's not hard. It's just a little extra sewing, that's all. Oh, interesting, Terry. That's cool. Oh, cool. You know so many interesting things about sewing and men's clothing. Love to see some of your stuff. Okay, so let's see here. I spent all this time curling my hair today. Can you tell? What happened? My daughter cut my hair yesterday, and I think that's what happened. I think all this healthy stuff is like, wait a minute, you're going to put hot stuff on us? We didn't know that. We're not used to that. Oh, cool, Tanya. I'm going to be making a Wixton Howery for my mom soon because she wants a lightweight robe. I got to get fabric for that. I've bought so much fabric lately for projects and stuff. So, I know the Suki. I love my Suki. That one that I just have that's like a really short little jacket that I wear around the house. I love that thing. I know those sleeves weren't what she was looking for though. So I was like, well, how about this one? And I didn't think she'd like the Wixton, but those sleeves are narrower than I remembered. So I think that was fine. She just wants something loose and lightweight. She does, Eliza, but I feel like Terry doesn't post a whole lot on there of her sewing escapades. Or I miss it. I miss a lot. I will be honest. I really spend as little time as possible on a lot of stuff. Mainly because I look at computer screens so much and I'm doing so much up close stuff that my eyes have been getting really tired and I got new glasses. And I just like to not spend too much time on it. So I actually just look for you guys on there the most. Yes, Sydney. Hey, Malin, how's it going? Yeah, no pressure, Terry. You do what you want, you know? Or in the So-So group on Facebook. I feel like it's harder to tell. I feel like we have like multiple communities, right? We have this live stream community, we have the Facebook group, and we have Instagram, and there's a ton of overlap. Oh, Allison. I felt like that was pretty sneaky how they did that on the pattern. I was going to say you could cut another one, but then you'd lose the width and then just put a seam. So I don't think there's anything wrong with having a sleeve. You're talking about this piece right here, right? This flap. Yeah, that piece should not have been cut on the fold, in my opinion. Hi, Adina. Yeah, you've been busy, Eliza. Well, you know, Eliza, the fitting though I did were, I feel like, really the only fitting thing I did was increase the hip. I think you can get away with not changing the sleeves at all. I really do. It's because I went up in size, I think. It just got too wide for me. You know what I mean? So, there, yeah, you could do that, Allison. Just remember your seam allowance. Just remember that if you end up sewing this piece with smaller seam allowance, that this piece doesn't have smaller seam allowance. You don't want to accidentally line this up on here with this seam allowance, because then up here your hood might get a little finicky to put on, just so you remember that. So if you use a smaller seam allowance on this piece, I would trim this one down so you don't get confused. It is, Terry. That's yours. I don't know how you keep track of so many different names. But yours really sticks out, the Shea Butterfly. I'm always like, who is that? Oh, that's Terry. All right, let's get sewing. All right, so, I keep wanting to record a little thing and a little intro, or at least say something. But if you're watching this as a playback, you're not watching this live, a couple little notes. This is a live stream, so yeah, it's not edited down. Hopefully one day there'll be timestamps, so always look for the timestamps in any of our videos. You can, if you're on a desktop, just hover over the time bar at the bottom, like right here. Hover your mouse over that and see if it's chunked up. Otherwise, if you're on like a mobile device or something, go to the description of the video, which you can just tap the title of this video, the part that says Sewing Kelly Anorak Part 3, that right there. Click that, and there should be, if there's timestamps, they're in the description. Let's see, what else did I want to say? Subscribing and commenting on videos are really helpful because I do this as a community thing. So getting seen as much as possible is great. I don't really make money doing this, and I really enjoy it. So I want it to get out there more. I was going to say one other thing. Supporting me helps. If you want to support me, it's a really big help. You can make a donation on Streamlabs or on my website. There's a donation thing. You can do Patreon as well. And I see a lot of people do Patreon and then just quit after a month. You actually don't have to do that if you don't want Patreon to have all your information. You can just do one of the links in the description, like through Streamlabs, and just make a direct donation. Or on my website, there's like a donation thing, so you don't have to do the Patreon thing if you don't want to, but there are occasionally some perks on Patreon, and the tiers aren't any different except in price. They're just different levels. That's it. Maybe someday I'll adjust that, but not yet. Got a lot going on right now. So anyway, but you can pause, fast forward, rewind. You don't have to listen to my stories if you don't want, and you can get right to the bits that you want. And if you want to make the timestamps for this video, please, we would really appreciate it. So, all right, let's get to sewing. So let's see here. I have all these hood pieces. So what I found with constructing this hood, I made this hood 3 times in my trials. Oi, let's put that autofocus back on, yo. Let me not blind you. Or not autofocus, auto exposure. Ah. That's pretty bad, wasn't it? So, God, but I really like being able to see on the dark. So I may have to adjust this. All right, so first off, if you haven't taken your pattern pieces off, this is what I've learned with the 3 times I've sewn this hood. Smaller seam allowances are a lot easier in easing that curve. The curve actually isn't that hard if your seam allowances are a lot smaller. I trimmed mine down to 3/8 of an inch. You can even go down to 1/4 if you want, unless yours is unlined. If yours is unlined, I would leave it that wider and then try and do some sort of French seam or flat felled seam because you'll want those seams finished. Or you can overlock it as well. The other thing I wanted to say is on your pattern piece, the wider section is the hood right here, and the narrower section is the back neck. So those double notches on your pattern, that's your back neck, so don't forget that. All right, and let's see, I have all my notches on here. So let's brighten it up a little again. Yowza. See, the auto is pretty helpful. You guys just shout at me if it gets too much. And I'm gonna have to switch to a cream thread for these pieces here. Oh, it's so bright. I'm so sorry. Maybe we could bring this down so you're seeing more fabric on there. Is that helpful? Hi, Patty. How's it going? Okay, so what I say, the back notches are at the neck. And remember to line it up on the seam line. Don't line it up with your cut edges like this, because see, look at this little gap right here. So when you line up seam allowances, always line it up on the seam line, like where the seam allowance is. Line up the 2 pieces there, always. On everything you sew, you have to do that. But in this kind of pattern piece, it's particularly important because you're putting a long straight piece to a curve. And if you start off 1/8 of an inch off, it just gets worse and worse and worse, it feels like. So make sure you line up on your seam allowance. And then what I like to do is I get it going, and then I find my first notch and I line it up. And what I like to do is line up on these types of things where it's a long straight and a curve. I line them up perpendicular to each other so that they're lined up on the seam line. We can do our other one right now too. I'll pin it. Pin it if you like, or clip, or whatever. I didn't when I sewed my samples. Where's my notch at? That is my notch right there. I can tell that I tried to notch right there. Which side? This side. I did find it a little easier, I think, putting the straight piece on top of the curve. But it means like on the other side, you don't get really to do that. So you're gonna, unless you, well, you'll see in a second. How's the sound? I actually made it too so I can move the microphone today when I'm at the iron. So look at how tight that is. You see that? But it works. It works, I promise. As you can see, this is, you want this to line up at the end right there on that seam allowance right there so that you have a nice smooth line. Hey Walter, you're stuck at work. Aw. Wish we could rescue you. The reason it probably feels wrong, like this isn't gonna match, is because this edge right here on this long straight piece, once we clip it, it's gonna relax and spread out and line up with that edge, but it's not clipped yet. So it feels like it doesn't work. So just trust the notches and stay on your seam allowance and it all is gonna be fine. But I had a ton of trouble when I was doing my samples because I was doing it at that 5/8 inch seam and it was pretty tricky. So there you go. See, like that, no tucks, no puckers, no nothing. So now you can clip it and you can see like this edge is ruffly, but this edge is tight, and that's just because this one's straight, right? It's not curved. So that cut edge right there is shorter. So let's just clip it. You can clip all the layers if you want, but really you just need to clip that straight piece. Now if you're not lining it, I wouldn't clip it unless your seam finishing allows for that. It's more like what you find the less fussy to sew, Eliza, but like just now, I put the straight piece on top of the curve, and I find that to be a little easier. Sometimes I find it to be the opposite. Like I feel like I go back and forth when I'm sewing something to a neckline, like a collar stand that's long and straight. I feel like on a collar stand, I like putting the neckline on top and sewing that, and I'm not sure why that is. It's probably because the collar stand is so unforgiving. You know, it's been interfaced, it's already been sewn a lot around the perimeters where the, you know, the collar is being attached to the collar stand. All right, so now we'll start at the top, put it right sides together, and that works. So sometimes I don't really like going from one direction up and then one direction down, but because we're being really precise about this, it should be okay. Like I said, I'm getting it even on this easy to match section. I make sure I have a nice perpendicular matching there. All right, now I'm gonna find my notches. I have this one top notch I barely got notched. So let's look at this one down here. Okay, here's a notch and here's a notch, and so you see, like, it'd be easy to lay this so that this is lining up right here and your notch is right here, but if you were to draw a line where your seam line was on here in chalk and this line here, you would find really that it's more accurate to kind of line it up perpendicular. And then that way you're being true to where it would actually line up. I have this, I'm pretty sure it's this right here. It's probably because I probably trimmed these seam allowances after this was cut out. Don't do that. I mean, you can, but just make sure you get all your notches back. I modified the fit of my hood. And I feel like that was a pretty easy modification. But I also made sure all of my notches still matched by measuring on the seam line and double checking. That's how I got it still to all line up. Keep those raw edges together and just stay on that seam allowance and it should fit. Yeah, what's everyone working on this weekend? I asked that earlier, but I don't think there's a whole lot of folks here yet. I need to show you guys my list of things I'd like to make. Alright, so, and then I'm just clipping, because mine's lined, I'm clipping this long straight one so it relaxes a little bit. Pretty sure these get pressed towards the center hood, so the clipping is not necessary because it's going to fold back on itself, and that's pretty easy for it to do. We're not asking it to do a lot, but I'm still just going to relax this as much as possible. But like I said, if you're not lining yours, I wouldn't do this unless your seam finish allows for it. Alright, so I'm going to top stitch mine. I'm going to press the seam toward the hood panel. Let's move this mouse. I don't know why that's still sitting there. Can you guys see okay? Is it too bright? All right, Eliza. You work on Sundays, Eliza? I miss this week. Every week there's a weekly Zoom with Beatrice, and Beatrice Dressform, and I miss it because on Sundays, like that's my day. Sundays and Mondays are my days off, and I think just being independently, an independent like person, like meaning I don't work for someone else for so long, like for a really long time, since my mid-20s, almost all my adult life. I've gotten so disciplined about what my days off are, you know. I mean, I still work a little on my days off in some ways, but I don't even think about stuff like that. And I miss the Zoom every week. It's kind of a bummer. I think like doing a nice seam finish on this hood no matter what. So that it's nice and flat, especially if you're lining it so that the seams aren't pushing up against the lining. I saw this beautiful finished coat today on someone's Instagram, and I could tell that the seam allowances were pushing against it. And I don't think there's a whole lot she could have done for it, but maybe make the seam allowances really small or top stitch the lining as well. All right, so there we go. My hood. Okay, so let's do the lining now. And I'm going to sew these two pieces together first. This hood facing, because I'm still on my blue thread. And I think I will just push this to one side, like that. All right, tone down that. All right, so my lining, it's auto brightness, so it should be correcting, and it's not. It was doing really good the other day, wasn't it? Oh, it's off the auto. There we go. Phew. There we go. Okay, let's move all these pattern pieces on my table here. We'll switch the thread. Ooh, I'm so excited to finally get to sew with the print. Oh, okay. Oh. Wow, Liza. Yeah, those 12-hour shifts, though. My mom was a nurse when I was growing up. I was home alone a lot. Which actually didn't bug me I don't think it really bugs most kids that are just fine being on their own. But I can't imagine like being a single mom working a 12-hour shift, knowing your kid's home alone, and then having to come home and you can't just like relax. You know? It's like, wow. Yeah, the auto brightness was pretty good last time, wasn't it? I don't know why I wasn't kind of catching on earlier, but okay, so same thing again. Remember that the double notch is at the neck, right? Look at those little, they're like manatees, right? Look how cute they are. Look how, it's kind of dark. Is that going to be too dark for you guys? I used to have my pattern holder, like I have these little, these are just magnets. I occasionally asked, what are those on your machine? They are not some cool mystery tool that makes everything go great. They're just decorations. And I used to always store my pattern holder magnets from this product we made there, and they're super strong. These are not super strong. They can hold themselves, and that's about it. And I got kind of in the habit, if I had like one pin I was using that one pin over and over, I would just put it on those magnets. Well, those don't even hold it. They expel the pin. And I keep trying to put a pin up there, and it doesn't work. All right, wait. Oh my gosh, another week. Oh, I forgot I did put fabric here to have a little like thing. Finally. And let's move these cones of thread right here. All right. So same thing, you might be able to see what I'm doing this time. Remember, I'm lining it up on that seam line there. And looking for our notches. I notice 2 notches there, not sure why. Not sure why. Sydney. Oh my gosh. Oh, you got to make dinner for everybody? Oh, wow. 3 kids. Dang. I do remember she would probably have someone stay at the house when I was sleeping. And I wonder now if that was more often than I realized. Because I really rarely ever remember anyone putting me to bed. Besides my mom. She was often there at bedtime. She don't think I was just left to fend for myself. I kind of was in some ways, but it was fine. I mean, I thought it was fine. I'm sure she would say otherwise sometimes. Maybe I should have gone for that first notch. Remember when so like I was kind of a latchkey kid pretty early on, and I remember one thing I did. My mom has had a microwave since they first came out. My grandmother bought her one as a gift, and so that made things really easy, right? In some ways. So, but one of the things we would make, I always loved tomato soup. We had these plastic. They weren't plastic. It was probably melamine, like an old form of melamine, because it was like bowls and plates, and they weren't like our nice ones. They were just the ones we used every day, the ones I was probably allowed to use. And I remember one time trying to make soup in the bowl on the burner of the stove. And I think I did that a few times. My mom finally said, why are these bowls black on the bottom? You know, I just thought that's how you did it. Good thing they weren't special, right? Lies. Yeah. I think it's so funny because my kiddo would love to move out, and the pandemic is kind of cramping her style, right? And so, but it's really funny because I can say this because I know she's not watching this. Well, she could be watching the stream today actually, but because she's at a salon, but she she comes upstairs every night, like just to say hi or whatever. And that's usually when I'm playing a video game. So it's like that classic thing of your mom walking in and wanting to talk to you while you're in the middle of a game. But it's my kid doing that. And for the most part, in some games, I can just like stop and talk with her or whatever. And I want to, you know. But a lot of times I can't, especially some of the games I'm playing right now. So it's that classic thing of like her sometimes looking at me like, are you going to ignore me play video games? And it's like, sorry, you know, but I can't change, you know. But she comes up and she like takes the dogs outside. I got really off track on this hood, didn't I? Let's see. She takes the dogs outside in evening. It's kind of just like her little routine like she likes to do with them. It's right there. You know what it was? I did it with the curved side up. I'm going to try it with the other side. So it is really funny, you know, that sometimes I'm just like, gosh, you know, the only time I get to like hang out and relax and be with my friends is the only time I really get to see my kid lately, you know, because she's busy too. And during the day I'm not here and stuff. And so then I started realizing you really need to like absorb this because soon she's going to move out and she's not going to reply to your texts, you know, like I gotta like be careful here. I don't want to set up something, you know. My mom, like, I moved out, and my mom finally was like, I had no idea she was frustrated that I wasn't calling and saying how things were going. And, you know, she had toddlers at home. She had 2 toddlers, and then me out in the world. And finally she said, can you just call me once a week? Can you just please just call me on Sunday nights? Just call me Sunday nights. And I did my best. But I just remember being like, you know, hi, you know, that was terrible. It was so terrible. My brother and sister are so much better than me. Now I'm pretty good. This notch is just having trouble lining up here. But look, we're stuck now. We have to get this to line up. I do find it a lot easier to do it from this straight center hood panel piece. But it feels a little, this time feels a little tighter. Keep it on that seam line, Jeremy. You got this. There we go, no problem. If you need to pin it, pin it. I don't know why, but pins sometimes don't work for me. So. Hey, Nancy, how's it going? Calder pants. Oh, which one's the... Hey, you guys, I'm looking for a nice trouser. Like, I want a button fly. I don't want something fancy. I want a very casual pant to wear. And I don't want a really long rise. Like, I don't want the rise drop, like, hanging down below my crotch. I don't like that at all because I don't like that feeling. So maybe I should just use the ginger jeans or, like, a jeans pattern and make them into a trouser. Because I have some woven fabric that I got for making, like, around the house lightweight pants. You know? Is this bright enough? Why isn't it brighter? I'm kind of surprised it's not brighter. Alright, I'm just stop stitching this. Yeah, right, Eliza. I remember my mom every day would call when I got home from school, you know, and so I better be there answering that phone. Because, you know, I was like 9 years old walking home from school, and she wanted to make sure I made it home safely. Or if I called the hospital, my mom was a nurse too, right? So I called the hospital as well. And I think they had a direct line to their department or whatever, so that made it a little easier. But yeah, they always put it through unless she was busy. And then someone else would be like, okay, what's up, Emmy? They all call me Emmy. What's up, Emmy? Oh, yeah, cashmere calder pants. Oh. You love Berta for all pants. Now that's quite the declaration. You did miss the hood, Noon Sky? This is the hood lining, and I just did the outer fabric too. Oh, really good. All right, now we're going to put this hood facing on. Is Derek on here? The golden rule. Oh, yeah, you told us about it a while ago, Nancy. Are you still using it? The letter low. My mom worked in a heart cath lab, Eliza. So not quite ICU at all. Let's see here. Let's look at this over. Let's put the hood on top this time. Now this hood facing has been interfaced, so it's not going to be very flexible. But let's put that center notch to the center of this hood, which is right here, the seam that we already sewed. Yeah, just the letter low. Yeah, I figured that was it, letter low. I used to be so jealous of my friends who had a house key. What does that mean? Did you not get a key to your own house, Nancy? What does that mean? I had one and I wore it around my neck. Like literally, I was the definition of a latchkey kid back then. I was one of those kids that the other parents would be like, oh, what a shame. What a shame. She doesn't have a father. That was a good thing, you guys. All right, I'm thinking you do this. I'm doing it anyway. I'm top stitching it, pushing the seam allowance towards the lining. Ooh, this is looking so good. Like, I love this fabric combo. When I bought this online, I didn't know that it would match really that good, you know, but it really does. Oh, really interesting. I didn't know that. Oh, what, you just heard of it? Oh yeah, I've heard of letter low. Remember, I feel like someone early on in the stream, and I know you were one of the very first people watching the stream, Nancy, someone got it. Isn't it like a pattern drafting system? And what's the golden rule with the letter low pattern drafting? I haven't heard of what the golden rule is. I thought you were saying that that was a pant pattern at first. Cargo pants from Berta. Oh, cool. Oh yeah, that belt. Is that the one where I ironed it, and then folded it in half, top stitch it? Yeah, that's a great way to do that. I didn't come up with that. Oh, yeah, Nancy. Yeah. Yeah, so you know what's really interesting about that was I was like that till I was 12. And by 12, you're becoming a teenager. And then oh, that's what was you, Terry. Okay. Okay, that makes sense. Didn't someone get some sort of system though? And it was like rulers and things. Who was that? Maybe that was like Barbara or Beverly or wasn't Megan. Well, anyway, when my mom got remarried, I was about 12, and then she had my brother and sister, and she stayed home then, and we relocated and everything. You know, it was like a big family move, and she was home every day when I got home from school, and it was really tough for me. I was just like, oh, I don't know about this. I don't really like this. Isn't that terrible? But I didn't. I liked being home alone, and I was used to it. So, okay, so now I'm going to sew the center front curvy edge of this hood. And they ask you to turn up one edge of on your lining side. I kind of want to do this, but I kind of want to just go straight through and do it the way I would normally do on a collar. Not sure now. Okay, so I'm going to put the, what I find is if I put the piece that is less likely to stretch on top to sew to the one that is more likely to stretch, like this one, I think that's a better chance for not getting any, weirdness. Oh, interesting. Yeah, exactly, Adina. Yeah, I think like for a long time I thought, oh, I'll bet I like being alone because I was a latchkey kid. But honestly, I think I would have been like that anyway. Was just totally fine with it. Okay. Didn't I take off another? Oh yeah, here it is. Okay, I'm just making sure. Usually if I'm going to use a bobbin, I put it right in front of my machine right here under the back stitch bar, but I put it back in the thing this time. Okay. Line this up. And mine is a 3/8 inch seam, and my neck seam is a 1/4 inch. I'm gonna tack this here. Not tack it, but I'm gonna pin my center to the notch there. So I have my, my non-negotiable spot right there. So I can get this. And you know what else I'm gonna do? Because I don't have a free arm, I'm gonna turn it kind of inside out so it stays nice and flat. That's way better. Look at that. I might have to like get that curve a little better that I just did right here. Because look, there's a tiny point. Nancy. Yeah, well, let us know what you think of it if you end up checking it out. Can you see other people that are shaped like you using that system? I feel like that would be a good tell, And with that, I guess I never really looked into that because I just figured, are you drafting all your own patterns then? Or are you applying, like, do you have like a block and then you apply that block to pre-bought patterns? Pre-purchased patterns or purchased patterns, not pre-purchased, but purchased. You know what I mean? All right, let's get this curve a little better. If I don't stop sewing, I get a nicer curve right there. See right there? Ignore my choppy interfacing. But let's look over here. It looks like I pivoted right there, to me, is what I think I did. And then I just don't get a very nice, curve. Come on, where's the stitch? There it is. So this is front and center right here, So, it's a nicer curve. I didn't really follow it over there, but I'm fine with that because I like that curve a lot. This isn't a seam allowance that's going to, affect the fit. All right, so let's clip this curve here, right here. Baste it by hand. What? That's kind of the crazy talk. Just kidding. Oh, you use wild ginger. Boy, that system's been around a long time. I used to hear about it when I was doing CAD work because they would try and sell to me, but it's a home sewing. It's like better for home sewists because there's like, at the time, I don't know about it now. I have no clue anything about it. But at the time, they didn't have the kind of integrations you needed for production and for grading and stuff. But I know a lot of people really liked it for their own stuff. I was looking at something else recently too. What was I seeing? I actually talked to a freelance pattern drafter that I've she's not a pattern drafter, I'm sorry. She makes markers and grades and prints things out for people that are pattern drafters and things. She probably does know how to do pattern drafting, but she doesn't do that as her gig. All right, so they asked you to turn this edge up before you sew this edge. I didn't do that just because of the way I like to sew a collar onto a neckline. But I think it's a good idea if you like doing it that way. It might be easier. You did order it. Oh, okay. Oh, neat. Oh, okay. Hot patterns. Yeah, so they probably did come out with like a more industry, not specific, but optimal for people. That's great. What was I can't remember what this guy was saying. Because I've used Scanvec, Tucatec, Pad System, Tucatec, Scanvec, Pad System. I feel like there's one other one that I used. I never used Gerber. And she was like, I don't recommend Gerber. Gerber's super, like for super big companies, really powerful laser cutting, stuff like that. Well, all of them can do laser cutting. That's just the cutter. Okay, so let's see here. Now we're going to assemble our lining. And put our facings to the lining. And put our sleeves on. Ooh, I'm so excited. But I wanted to know if I can understitch my collar. Or maybe I just do that at the very end. Yeah. Yeah, so I'm just going to leave this right now. So this little facing edge right here will probably it'll get turned to I know it will be. It'll be turned to the inside. And then once we have this on the neckline, when we do our stitching all the way around the neck, we can do a top stitch edge around this hood opening here. But we could probably, next we're at the iron, we'll iron it. See if I can get this thread into here. Where's that coming from? Here it is. I knew it was my thread and not the fabric thread. Okay, this all looks pretty good. I can probably trim this little curve right here a little more so that my curve is nice and curvy. And it'll be really nice when I get to top stitch that. Oh yeah, see that helped that curve a lot. Let's do that to the other side. I don't want to accidentally put my hood on the neckline like, you know, hours from now and I can't get a nice curve because I forgot to do that. Okay. Let's see. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Okay. Oh, so I also added a pocket to my lining. Why is it so dark? Why is it so dark? The hell? No. It's a funny system. Oh, I could tell that popped out of my tension disc. It got suddenly lighter. There we go. All right. So, because I added this pocket so that I can reach in. Yeah, it does. It has kind of a metallic thing. I'm going to put the microphone over here. Oh, I can't. Wait. Eek. Why can't I rotate this further? go. Oh, I was like, where's the notches? It's upside down. Perfect. I was like, what did I do without these notches? So I just drafted this little pocket. And I think I gave the dimensions of it when I did it, if you're interested. And I'm just going to attach it to the inside of my lining so I can reach in and put things like my glasses or something that I really want close and not going to bang around in my hand pockets with my keys and stuff like that, you know. Do I go all the way up like this? I think I will. I think it looks nicer when you have fabric filling the hem, so we'll do that. I didn't fussy cut this as far as matching the print on the fabric of the lining though, but I did fussy cut this little area here, and yeah, it does have the gold. I'm not a big fan of stuff like that, but I think this is fine. I think that's enough, you know. Okay. My shoes are squeaky. I wear these all the time too. I don't know why they're squeaky. Let's see if I can get that a little brighter for you. It's on auto. It's so weird. Huh. Sharpen it, dude. Alright, so now we have our pocket. Or I have my pocket. I just changed my thread, right? See, that's why I do it. And let's see if I feel like I did give myself some notches there. And that is the dart. Notch this one only. I think I want it on my left front as I'm wearing it. So this would be the one right here. Because I'm right-handed. Let's just see if I can mark this without undoing that pin quite yet then. I'd use my, you know, the Crayola washable markers, but this won't be washed, so I don't really want to take a chance that it sticks around forever. That's awesome. Hey, Elizabeth, how's it going? That's awesome, Nancy. Yeah, I saw someone the other day that I don't know if watches my stream or not, but they said, I'm going to be kind to my future self. And I went, do you watch my stream? Because I absolutely have strong feelings about that for sure, you know? Be kind to your future self for sure. Okay. It's easier to actually line it up like this. Here we go. There we go. All right. We're glad you're here too, Elizabeth. We've just been chipping away at this Kelly Anorak, but it's really starting to come together now. Like all the fun to look at stuff is finally showing up on camera. It's not this dark navy blue blob, you know? Okay, that's my dart. And even worse, I have the dart marked on the right side of the fabric, so I still need to mark it again. Get rid of these. Let's mark this. This is my pocket piece. All right. We have our facings. Look how tiny mine are because I trimmed the seam allowances. Okay, and here's my pocket. I could have matched all my print, but I decided to, I didn't even think of it just because it doesn't really, no one's really going to see it. It would have been a really nice touch, pretty classy to do that. But I also, I have to say one thing I don't like about that is sometimes it's really hard to find, you know, like you can't even see things on your garments and you're like, where is it? Because you can't see it. Yeah, set yourself up for success. Yeah, totally. I mean, it's not like I coined those phrases, really. They're just things I feel like I've extrapolated from over the years. All right. I'm going to fold this little corner down like that. Can you see that? I like to fold that little corner down right there. Sorry, my presser foot's going crazy. You really notice it when I talk about it too, I bet. Get that nice and straight. Get this nice and straight. This reminds me of that National Geographic, those napkins. They're haunting us. Make sure my turned up bit is caught in there. Alright. Get rid of those little threads. There's kind of too much stuff here. Oh my gosh. Why was that so hard? It's kind of funny. So the reason I turned that corner down especially is because you see how I clipped the notch? And so it's making this little edge, because it's clipped, flare right there. So that has the tendency to like sneak out above my pocket. So I just turn it down like this. It's harder to do this in really thick fabrics, but it works pretty good for this. And then I'm going to do that little triangle. That kind of sinks it in there a little bit better too. Those little triangles are pretty essential if you're going to be putting stuff in your pocket a lot, because it's kind of a stress thing. Oh, yeah, I get that one too, Nancy. Hey, Barbara, how's it going? Nice. I'm glad to hear that. Little book of ceremonies. That's funny. Yeah, anytime, like, when I was a kid, and I'd be, like, at one of those, like, assemblies, you know, and so, you know, the whole school is there, and they would say something like, and on Tuesday, we're going to be having our awards ceremony. I would be like, and I would think they were about to say my name, and I'd blush bright red and get all, like, heart palpitations and just totally terrified, and I'd almost pass out. And they weren't even talking about me. But that word ceremony was so similar. It would give me a freaking heart attack. There is my notch in true fashion. I probably trimmed all these and was like, you're going to go back and do the notches, and I just didn't. Okay, so we have that. We don't really need any there. All right. You can see as I swung it out to match the amount I swung out on the outer coat. So that just made that I could continue the amount that the pleat extra gives. Hi, Kim. Welcome, welcome. How's it going? All right, so let's see. This is just a straight up center back seam, right? Yep. And yours might still have this little whoop-de-doo right here, this little shape because of that pleat. So you're adding this little bit of pleat so you have some movement in there. Just because your coat doesn't have it on the outside doesn't mean you still need it on the inside. It just kind of works. So, all right, so I'm going to put mine right sides together if you're doing the lining. If you're not doing the lining, you don't have to worry about this. You're probably done with me. You just need to attach your hood and collar and stuff, right? You're done with your Kelly. I'm so jealous. Mullen, right? My friend used to say, someday someone's going to say to you, marry me. She liked the it's not alliteration, but she liked the rhyming. And then I had another friend say, you know, in October, we could call you Scare-a-me. All right, so let's make this pleat. And you just kind of make the pleat pretty, just simply. You just mash those notches together. I'm going to sew across the top. All right. So let's put our shoulders together. Oh, we need to do our darts on the front. Sorry about that. Darts on the front. So I brought in my shoulder seam armhole thingy. That's the technical term. Oh my gosh. I feel like I need to fold it on this side. There we go. So I used to always hand tie the end of my darts, and I still do often because I forgot this one thing that someone showed me where I go to the end and then I go back on the dart and I sew into this extra fabric here, and then I put my back stitch there. Now, I feel pretty comfortable doing that on something like the lining like this because this isn't a piece that shows on the front here. If you're doing, you know, a dress or a blouse or, you know, any kind of shirt with exposed darts, even men's garments, you might want to hand tie the end of the dart so you don't get that little point sometimes you can get, you know. So just be careful about that. But something like this, I'm not too worried about it. Oh, I just lost my... Oh, there it is right there. Jeez Louise. I was pretty quick to remove that pin, wasn't I? All right. Now we can sew our lining together, and then we're going to do our sleeve. Just cruising right along here. We didn't have any hardware to install today. It's going pretty quick. It's nice. I'm trying to get to the bagging of the lining. I might, I think, yeah, I'll probably stop right before that. That way, if anyone, I'm sure there's not a whole lot of folks following along and sewing this with me, but if you are, at least it kind of gives you that great stopping point and kind of, you know, gear up for that and make sure you have all your ducks in a row. And then we can do it together, or at least it's a dedicated video toward that, which I think would be good also for like search parameters on YouTube. So, all right, let's do the side seams. I feel like my needle's a smidge too big for this fabric. it feels hunka, you know? Okay, so if anyone missed it at the beginning, if you're a Patreon patron, I did a big post yesterday. Really just want you to answer the poll in it, and it's pretty easy. It's like, what do you want from being a Patreon patron? Basically. And I really appreciate everyone who's already answered. It's been great. It makes me feel it helps me focus on what's most important. And it's really nice to see how many people did that for the live stream. But if you didn't, I want to hear that too. I want to know. So please answer that. All right, so now we have our lining. This is pretty nice fabric. I need to give it a good press before I attach it to the jacket. I'm never going to get to wash this, so I got to make sure it all looks good. Where's the Cricut at? Oh, here, look, there's the Cricut. Okay, nice. All right, so now we're going to put our facings on here. I have my label on there because we all know I forget it sometimes. So do I change my thread for attaching this? I'm going to, because I plan to top stitch the facing. Actually, yeah, okay. I was gonna say I'm planning on top stitching the facing so that this is so weird. Is this right? Wait a minute. Oh, they didn't. See, just around the facing of the machine. Okay. Oh, an understitch. So if you sew that together and then you understitch, you're doing it on the cream fabric. Well, shoot. I'll sew my shoulders and that, I'll sew my shoulders in the cream thread. I can handle it. I'm not willing to hand sew things, Walter, but I am willing to cheat on thread color. And I have my label here. Oh, mainly because as a reminder, I'd really like a loop. You know, like a hanging loop. So especially on things like facings like this, you can see how it'd be really easy to line up these raw edges like this, right? But if you did that and then you sewed it, I know I talk about this probably every time I come across something like this, but it's just really worth repeating. If you do that, what happens is your facing is misaligned really drastically. You see that? Because I lined up the raw edges and not the seam line. And then what happens is sometimes you get kind of far along and you're just like, oh, I'm just at that point where I want to be done. And you start trimming away to kind of blend it in. And then you get disastrous consequences when you go to like put whatever it is to your neckline, or you know, like we're sewing this to the lining. So I can't really underscore it enough how this is not some pesky sewing teacher weird rule. This is the law. This is the law. The seam line and the seam allowance is there for a reason. So now if I sew it on the seam line, I'm not pinning it very well, it's going to line up. You see this, the raw edge lines up with that raw edge. And then you have that nice smooth transition so that you're not changing these seam line lengths for the other steps that you still have left. So I'm having trouble seeing mine because of the interfacing on there. Basically you're going from, you know, juncture to juncture to get that good transition. You know what I mean, jelly beans? All right. Let's press these shoulder seams open. This is okay. These little wings right here, you know, those can be trimmed. That's okay, it's excess. But you absolutely want this transition, and that's pretty good. You can see my interfacing sticking out. We'll just trim off the excess, and you can see it's pretty good. Remember, I've changed my seam allowances and a lot of things, so the fact that it's lining up that good still is pretty good. You know? All right, so I have this tag. Now, do I just stitch it down? I still want to do a hanging loop. I kind of want my tag to be pretty low profile, so I'm going to tack it down there. I don't have my loop ready, but we're not to that stage yet. But let's do something like this so we remember that's for my, I need to put a hanging loop there, because that is something I will totally forget. All right, let's iron this a little bit. Yes. Hey, Ray. Yes, exactly. Natural law. I like that. Exactly. Does that make the microphone really noisy when I do that? Why does it keep getting hung up right here? There's something with this particular arm that I think it's gotten bent over time. The little post that goes into there. How are you, Ray? How are you doing? Nice to see you. Welcome to my sewing ceremony. I can't even say two of those three words together. See now, you see how this cuts away right here? This is something that you wouldn't really see. You would want this seam allowance to get caught in the neckline all the way to the edge. So if this were like a couture pattern, there would actually be a seam allowance shape that you would have seen on this pattern piece. It would have gone boink, would have gone out. Okay, so start facing. Let's give our darts a good press. Just like that. I'm gonna do this one. What was that? Who was that? Oh, welcome. What does it say? Oh, Ellen, welcome. Nice to see you. Thanks for subscribing. It doesn't really bug me that I didn't match the pattern there. It's pretty busy. Looks pretty good. So I think I'm going to follow the instructions and pull the whole lining through the neck because of the way the hood encases the entire neckline edge. It would have been kind of foolish for me to do it through the side seam. So I'll probably stitch this down so it stays nice and flat. And this right here is another seam allowance. And then I have the shoulders and the center back seam. So the center back, I think I'm gonna put, let's see. Yeah, I'm gonna press it this direction. Just like that. I'm not really gonna press the pleat. I'm just gonna let that do its thing. Let's press the shoulders real quick. And do I want to press them open? Actually, I'm going to press them in one direction and stitch them down. If I press it open, this is what I find. If I press it open, this seam, and I don't like do any stitching or reinforcing, you know, you just have, this is all you have is these little threads there as a barrier for any abrasion, like, or repeated wear. And since I don't, I don't know, I just feel like it's kind of a sturdy object, a jacket, Whoops. And I want these seams to be as low profile as possible. I don't know why I just pressed that open. I'm telling you I'm not going to do that. There we go. Okay. We're good, right? All right. Got our facing. Ah, thanks, Nancy. Your comments, no matter what they are helpful. Oh, yeah. How's your hand, Barbara? Wish your earring. Wait. Wow, Ray, that's so cool. You got your favorite kitchen knife. Wish your earring were somewhere like that. What does that mean, Barbara? Oh, because your long lost thing. My mom just said that she lost a diamond out of a ring, like her engagement ring or something. And then she went, that's what it was. She knew one of her rings, the little, I don't have the sticky uppy type of gems or whatever, but the little things that grab it, the little prongs. Sorry, I don't know the terminology. Never been a jeweler. Like this, she saw one was getting loose, so she already set the ring aside, and then the other one, the diamond was missing, and so apparently that one was loose as well. So she's asking me, like, do you trust anyone locally? And like, I don't obviously wear a lot of jewelry, but I said, oh, well, there is a local jeweler, blah blah blah. And then she texted me really late that night, and she said, oh, I mentioned Brett heard me, my brother, and so he got down on the ground. And at midnight, all of us had lights on, and they found her diamond, this tiny little thing. So that was pretty cool. And she told me this story because she was really worried about taking her rings. She said, I took one of my rings once to a local person where they used to live, and it was some sort of a specific gem that changed color. Not a mood ring, but it changed colors. And it began with an A. I'm sure someone knows what it is. It began with an A. And so it took her a long time to realize they swapped out the gem. So she's been kind of scared to go back ever since. And then she finally replaced it herself because she missed it so much. But anyway. Oh, your hand is getting good, but your earrings are missing. Ugh. Okay, so this kind of curve, this is, I'm going to tell you not a little story, but in design school, this is like the first lesson you learn as a designer. You start adding all these swoopy, cool lines to your designs, and they just look really cool, right? And you're like, oh, look at this nice curve I put on here. I know this is a facing to a line. It has nothing to do with that. This is a perfect example of this kind of seam that you're just like, oh, crap. I have to sew those together. And they do not look like this, nesting to one another when they're under your needle, right? Because now you have to put the opposite curve to one another to get it to sew together. That quickly, goes out the window for some of those folks. It's pretty funny. Alexandrite. I knew it had an X. I knew it had the drite. And I wanted to say Alexander. Yeah, exactly, Elizabeth. Yeah. So, apparently she had this ring for a really long time. And they took the gem. And it took her a while to figure out. She couldn't figure out why it wasn't changing color anymore. And then she figured it out. That would feel so icky. Oh, I wanted to do some top stitching. Gosh darn it. You wanted me to sew, didn't you? Well, ha. I'm going to stitch my shoulders. I'm just kind of stitching like a small 1/4 inch away from the side seam because my seam allowances are 3/8, and that'll just encase or stitch down the bulk of that seam allowance. So like a drunkard's. Oh, well, I don't know what quilt box that is, but just by the title, I can tell That's probably the case, yeah. Yeah, I really loved things from the 40s. And there was a lot of that. Wait, this is the center back, huh? I probably don't want to mess with that because I'd have to get all the way to the top. And maybe I could pop out my... Maybe I should actually pop out my pleat and then just top stitch it and put it back. We will do that. Why not? This way, it will also stay nice and flat. Don't know why I backstitched at the time, but I did. Oh, there goes my bobbin. Just let me make sure I see where it goes. There's a clover clip next to it. Perfect. You scratched your driver? Really, Nancy? Oh my gosh. Yeah, fingies crossed. I love that little expression you use. It's pretty cute. I don't tend to lose things at all. So when I do, it's not pretty. And when I hear someone else has lost something, it makes me almost as obsessed with finding it. I don't know what it is. Like that whole thing of like, you know, the dryer eating your socks. What is up with that? Like, no. You know, or the washing machine even. Let's put this pleat back in here. All right. Now I can put my facing on here. This should be loads of fun. And I think, let's see, what do I think? This piece is really stable. It's got all the interfacing on it. It's not stretching, whereas this is going to be a lot more malleable. So in some ways I kind of want this on the bottom because the feed dogs for me kind of help ease it in a way. It's not actually easing it in though, but it prevents tucks. Whereas my presser foot, probably because it's a smoother, firmer surface, is not allowing the fabric to kind of relax and fall into place, whereas the feed dogs are moving up and down, you know? Yeah, right, Adina? I know. So let's just try it from this side. And what I find is if you're having a lot of trouble getting these kinds of curved seams in, what I sometimes do is I do it in chunks. Like I'll be like, okay, like this. Like, okay, this has to go on this shoulder seam here. Wait, we're pushing this. Maybe I want to push this forward so that it reduces the bulk. So, you know, I'm gonna tack this here. You know, like this is one way you can kind of set yourself up. All right, that I don't know if I would backstitch. And then same with the center back right here. We know that this goes. Ooh, where's it going now? I used to know this kind of thing off the top of my head. I would know what that pleat did to the center back, but right now. No, it's like doing math in front of you. Okay, yeah, that is my new center back right there. So that's the halfway point. So then we're going to line that up and, you know, you can, again, stitch that down. Pinning it is one thing. Stitching it down is a whole other level of making sure you hit those marks as you go. And then you can maybe flip it over and start from the other end if things kind of start not working out. And you have these little, you know, guides along the way, you know. So now I feel like it would be better to, now that I see how it's laying, I think it'd be better to sew it from this side. And maybe what it is, and I'll probably have to figure this out all over again the next time I go to this, is the outer curve, the one that's, you know, going like this, should be on the bottom. And the inner curve, you know, is the one on top. And so you can see like my facing is the outer curve right now. And this one's the inner curve. And that does seem a lot easier. So maybe that's the key. And we just all learned something. And hopefully we'll remember it for next time, right? But see how much easier that is? Like, look, I'm already at the shoulder and it's totally fine. You don't have to deal with pins. I just kind of like stretch this, and I'm not stretching it really. I'm just kind of pulling it so that the raw edges stay all lined up. I did this tack a little like just outside my seam allowance, unfortunately, so I'll have to go back and remove that tack. So that's cool. Now we know it's the outer curve on the bottom, the convex. Actually, it depends on how you're looking at it. It's kind of a glass half full or is it half empty? Like which way you're looking at the curve. So remember, you really want this seam line right here. You really want to end that stitching and beginning on that seam line, because remember, this straight edge here of this facing and this center front edge of your lining, they need to be one long straight line. Trust me, I've done plenty of like little junctures like that where it wasn't quite a straight line when I was done, you know, so do your best there. I should have tacked that. All right, let's remove that stitching of that one tack I did here at the center back, because it's outside the seam allowance. Just like that. Oh God, Tanya. Yeah, that is exactly what they gave me. It is very slippery. I totally do too, Nancy. Yeah, and you know what? If I can't find one, I'm instantly looking in whatever linens, like in the corners of duvets and stuff. All right, it looks pretty good. That looks really good, honestly. I think I saw a little tuck there. Oh, it's just a little like fold. It's not a tuck. Look how nice that looks though. So the seam line is matching to the seam there, not my stitching, but to the seam line there. Can you even see that? So dark. Terry and Ray. Oh my God. I love making cinnamon rolls some tips. Oh, see, look. See, this isn't quite lined up. Is this where I ended? Yeah, this is where I ended. I kind of thought that was going to happen too, but look at that. It's kind of a little bit short there. See that? It's still within my seam allowance, so I can keep it. At least it's a nice straight line, but yeah, it's a little shy. On the side, it's pretty good. All right, so they say to understitch it, which is kind of the same thing as top stitching it in this case. And you want to push the seam allowance down because it naturally wants to do that anyway, so it's really easy. And super satisfying. As long as you don't run out of bobbin. Hubba hubba. All right. That sounds good. Brioche. That sounds good, Kim. You know, we would, when we would have leftover like cinnamon roll bread, which was so rare at the farm because we never really got anything like that. But there'd be like there'd be like one loaf of cinnamon bread like swirl bread that the local baker would sell at our farm that wouldn't get sold, and we would all be like, all right, do we want to chip in? It's $2.50 or when it was like really cheap, but when you only made $200 a month, and some of our interns made nothing, it was kind of an extravagant thing, and we'd all chip in and buy it, and then we'd make it into French toast. It was so good. But yeah, a brioche cinnamon roll, that sounds so decadent. Oh my God. Oh, that's so funny, Nancy. I have things like that too. Things I have done for 30 years that every time I do it, I'm like, how do I do that? But understitching is basically just pushing the seam allowance one direction and stitching it down. But the fact that it's called understitching sounds kind of confusing. Leftover croissant. Oh my God. You had leftover croissant. Do you make croissants? Holy cow. I mean, I have a friend that does that, but she's into those laminated doughs and doing that. All right, so we've got all our parts. Like, we got our hood, we got our lining. Now we're going to put our sleeves together and attach them to the lining. And I made sure it was all notched today. My thing is like cinnamon rolls, like when you use like a yeasted dough as the roll part of like a traditional cinnamon roll would be, that's the best. But if you want those in the morning, that is some serious commitment. And so what I used to do was I had a bread maker, and I could put it on a timer, but it would never do the dough, and I would use it to make my dough. But I could get up at 5 in the morning, press the button, and then go back to bed, right? And then I would have it. But that was still just too much. So I found in the Joy of Cooking a non-yeasted cinnamon roll dough, and it turned out really, really good. Wait, what? Croissants are usually... Oh, dang, Terry. When are we coming over? Oh, totally, Barbara. You know what? I think edge stitching and top stitching are very commonly interchanged. And honestly, I can see why. But understitching is specific. This, I wouldn't call this understitching because this is actually this is top stitching, in my opinion. Understitching is when it's something like that. This is going to go to the underside like that. That would be understitching. This is actually top stitching. You have an overnight cinnamon roll recipe. Wait a minute. We need the So Cooking Club now. That's true, Kim. But that means I have to think about it a day ahead. You know what I mean? Oh, I did that too, Barbara. I wasn't trying to hoodwink my kid, but your mom's like, yeah, cinnamon rolls. I can, to this day, I just take the scraps, roll it out, and then sprinkle cinnamon sugar, roll it up, and slice it up. And then Cricket's like, what did you do? Did you make any? I'm like, yeah, I made them. And sometimes I just spread jam on that. Exactly, Nancy. Pie dough. Oh, Adina. Yeah. There's still really good things gluten-free too. Oh, Terry, that sounds so good. Dang, I wonder, maybe I could do that tonight. Okay, there's the hump. I'm always looking for the hump of that sleeve. Yeah, okay. This is going to be so much easier because the fabric has a right and wrong side. Right? Okay. Ooh, I am getting excited about this jacket, you guys. I'm still like wonder, like, is one bar of that wax gonna be enough? All right, so I'm doing my undersleeve to the sleeve. This is the lining. You're gonna match up your notches. so that you get your front to your front and your back to your back. So cinnamon. You know, for years, I thought I had a cinnamon allergy. Years and years and years. And then I had to get tested. I had to do all that whole series of testing for something else. And they test cinnamon and other things in the mix. And they were like, no. I wasn't allergic to anything. Yeah, I am getting hungry. And I was shocked. And, you know, I learned a lot about cinnamon. I could still eat it. It wouldn't kill me or anything like that. But it would give my face, it would just flush. And that's probably just rosacea, you know, which got really bad when I moved here. And that's why I, you know, that's not why I was being tested. I was tested for something else. But the, like, since I was in my early 20s, I could never buy like cinnamon gum or cinnamon toothpaste. My face would just flare up. And so I was like, oh, yeah, it's just uncomfortable. It makes me kind of itchy. Now I know that was just probably rosacea that whole time. But I also learned that cinnamon like you bake with, that's actually not cinnamon. It's in the cinnamon family, but it's not true cinnamon. And where I used to live, there was a co-op that had all the bulk spices and herbs, but a lot of places have now. And they had 2, maybe 3 real cinnamons there from different regions. And it was so good, but different. But different in a good way. It just wasn't as strong. Oh, you're trying to figure out history. Yeah. That's so tough. I had a lot of that in my early 20s. But I got over it. I also ate absolute doo-doo in my 20s, you know? Because you can, you're invincible. I'm top stitching mine. You don't have to top stitch it. Like I said, I just really want my seam allowances to be all flat. And it's obviously very tight in there. But I'm just stitching on the side of the seam allowance there just to make the seam allowances there nice and flat on the sleeve. I know it seems like double the sewing, and it is, but it's worth it. Yeah, Sydney, exactly. Yeah, they may not even be allergic to it. Yeah, that's true, Ray. I don't know about Mexican cinnamon. I've had other things. Yeah, the cinnamon has been a lie this whole time. Isn't that funny? It's really expensive to get real cinnamon. That's why. But it's, I don't know. There was Ceylon and they had another one, and I don't remember what the other one was. But me and Cricket, she had the same exact reaction. Another reason why I thought it was an allergy. Oh, I don't know. I've heard that, Barbara, but I don't know what that is. Interesting. This is satisfying, right? You gotta get the good stuff now. It's not necessarily that it's the good stuff. I don't feel quite like that it is like, I mean, obviously it's more expensive and it tastes different. But if you like the flavor of what you've always considered cinnamon, I say just stick with that. It's fine. No, it's not like you're getting like, I'm trying to think of a good example. You know, the like lower quality version of something. And therefore bad for you. I don't think that's the case. And I still had mostly the same reaction to the real stuff. It's a very, not astringent, but it is a skin irritant. Oh gosh, Barbara. That's tough. And you don't know what kicks it off. Interesting. Oh, you make your own vanilla, Terry? I've tried that before. Am I out of bobbin? Indeed I am. When did that happen? Okay. Did I actually run out of bobbin? Because I don't see I ran. Oh, I did. I just perfectly ran out. I just perfectly ran out on the seam, and I didn't have a... Is this it right here? Wait. Oh, yeah, I didn't... Oh, no, I wouldn't have back tucked there. I need to double check. So I just sewed this seam together, though, right? Ooh, that felt really tight for some reason. This was my... Oh, look, you can see that's where it was... This always happens when my bobbin's about to go. I don't have the autofocus on. I do try and fix this. Okay. That's my... Yo, your bobbin's about to run out. So I got through this whole seam. Huh. And I literally ran out of bobbin in between. Pretty amazing. Air sewing. We do. What would the command be? And what would it say? Airhead. Literally, like that little hiccup of the quality of the stitching is the sewing fairy telling me your bobbin's about to run out, but I don't see that most of the time. I could just tell because it sounded differently. This machine is very subtle in the difference in the sound it makes for when the bobbin runs out. Whereas my other machine was a little clearer to me. In fact, I could hear Ray Ann's too. And she could hear mine. She'd be like, oh, your bobbin. I'm like, yeah, I just heard that too, you know. I'm going to put my easing stitch on this side of the seam and just on the main part of the sleeve with the cap. Mainly because I didn't really find I needed to ease anything down there, and pulling the easing stitch through the seam was kind of a bear. So I'm just gonna put it here. So I'm putting this stitch between the two seams so we can ease it onto the garment. Danger, Will Robinson, exactly. Yeah, Nancy, no wonder that went so well. There was no thread. I have had that moment, that exact moment, where I'm like, okay, that went pretty good. And then I'm like, oh, is that a bobbin the whole time? Viking Sapphire. Wait, what was that? I just got a new machine and thinking something. Oh, really? Like it tells you something? Oh. I think if I could have it tell me something, I would want it to be the little whistle that an iPhone makes when people get a tweet. I actually set that whistle up as my husband's text tone. You know, the wee woo. I can't whistle. But that would be kind of a good tone when your bobbin's about to go out. I find that tone to be a little snarky, though. Thank goodness my husband doesn't text spam me like I probably do for him. Oh, it shows on the screen. Okay. That should be the reply, Nancy, what Adina said. Sometimes I do my best sewing when the bobbin runs out. I'm probably going to do that. Oh, interesting, Patty. Really? You mean my machine has a bobbin reminder? Are you talking about my machine? Hold on. Really? Randy, yeah. my husband said, I'm going to make a Manhattan tonight. Do you want one? And I was like, yeah, that sounds pretty good. And I think it gets so excited when I'm kind of down for like an evening cocktail, you know? And I was like, or maybe a hot toddy, because we had just come in from outside, and we have right now we have 3 creeks on our property. We usually have 2 year round, but right now there's so much water that the little dry creek that the little bridge goes over is full of water. And but the other 2 are big and they're loud. They're not like raging and roaring. I mean, if Loki fell in a couple spots, it would be bad. But for the most part, it gets pretty shallow pretty quick, and then we'll group up and get, more rushing. It was kind of chilly out there. We were checking them all out. When we came in, I was like, oh, our hot toddy. And he was like, oh, is that bourbon or brandy? He instantly was trying to figure it out. I'm like, oh, I was just joking. I don't even know if that's what I want. Like, I've had some of those before, and they sound so much better than they taste. Like hot buttered rum. You know? All right, so I just pull my gathering stitch. Yes, I don't know how much I need to yet. But I just pull it so that a lot of the thread is tight, but I don't have any tucks. I'm just on the verge of getting tucks. It's usually about how much ease is in a sleeve, it seems like. So you have to program it. Oh, you guys should have recorded the video about it. Huh, it's not too early for wine. It's 12:49. And you're not in the West, right? Okay, so let's see. This is the back right here. So that means it's my right sleeve. And I think that would be this one right here. Wait a minute. Nope. This one right here. I always have to talk my way through this. Let's see. This is I'm looking for the double notches right there, and that is the back. Perfect. Okay. Here's the notch at the bottom of the under panel, and it goes to the side seam. There you go. Lynn's got you covered. You have to do reset when you put a new bobbin in. Oh, okay. Huh. Probably would never remember to do that part, you know? All right, so let's see your other notch. We're looking at that center top notch goes to the shoulder. Mine is barely visible. Oh, that's perfect, Terry. Party Terry's. Yeah, when do you get off, Walter? Why are you working still? Okay. That's about all I pin on these. I also do this. I have a video on how to set in a sleeve if it really struggle with doing this. Some sewist a really long time ago taught me how to do it this way, and it's spoke to me ever since. Good, Terry. It'll be even better now. And I have one on how to French seam a set-in sleeve as well. But this is all I do. I just pin the underarm and the cap right here. I kind of open up and see, is it all going to fit in there? And it seems like it. Like, it does look like maybe I could release a tiny bit here, but that seems pretty doable. And then I start at the bottom. And that's about all I do for starting. Remember, my seam allowance is 3/8. Yours is probably 5/8. I'd love to go to Georgia. If I've been there, it was at an airport, so it doesn't count. So I would love to go. The pictures I've seen, it just looks beautiful. It's like lush and Am I right? Is it beautiful and lush? Says the Californian living in the dry brown. But I've lived in the redwoods too. I've lived all over California. Oh, Adina, that's cool. Okay, I might enter a Facebook group for that. And they have industrials. Because what I'm finding, like, I've had people say, why don't you try and get Juki to sponsor you? The thing is, Juki makes home sewing machines that my friends have. They love them. And I don't have one of those, and I think that would be the best avenue for something like that since I'm geared towards home sewists. And I don't really think that they'd be interested in, the industrial side. It's probably not a really big market, Really, Sydney? Your Saturdays always have a lot of family stuff going on, it seems. Because your sister visits, your mom visits, right? I love how much we know of each other now. Only industrial... Ooh, Adina. If you think about it, like, next time you're looking at it, will you just, maybe screenshot the name of it so I get the right one and maybe send it to me in an email or Instagram or something? If you didn't mind. I'm kind of interested in that. I'd like to see what people are saying. Why do I have this really long thread there? Okay. I do like to remove my basting stitch as well. Was that what I just cut? No, it should be over here. Here it is. You don't have to, but I find it super satisfying. And I do find that if it was a particularly nasty one to ease in, it helps release that fabric there. So that went pretty good. All right, let's do our other one. The other one's always easier because you have the correct sleeve. That's the only one left. Maybe you could just screenshot it in the and put it in the so group. And then we could all see it. And we'll all come crashing into their group. Okay. Oh, it's nice you've seen him at least 3 times, though. Okay, same thing. Find my little top notch. There it is. Line it up. Almost always, this is how a sleeve gets notched and sewn together. The notch at the top always goes to the shoulder seam. There is rare cases where that is not the case, so just pay attention to your notches. I try and keep that thread that I gathered up. I need to release a little bit. I try and keep it free of the stitching, so I kind of just push it off to the side here. Don't catch it in the stitching. That way I can pull it out. It scared me. Ray! Thank you. I totaled up my super chats and put them in the Patreon. I think a lot of those are you. Thank you. Yeah, there's a few of you have someone has one that's different, not a Juki. And it looks really cute. Like it was a color, wasn't it? Who was that? Like it was a kind of a cute color, I think. It was like called like a Jack or something like that too. It had like a funny name like that. I wish we could see my sister, Sydney. She's up by you. And I know my mom would love to because, you know, my sister has young kids, and so we just miss them all so much. I wish they could just be down here with us, especially when her husband was deployed. He's in the Navy. It would have been just so nice for her to have the help from all of us being home with the kids and all the Zoom stuff, you know. And my parents would love to go visit them, but they're just like, how do we even get up there safely? You know? Did you see, this might have been on your news, Sydney, because you're in the West. Did you guys see on the news the people doing the vaccination clinic in Grants Pass, Oregon? And then a snowstorm hit, and so they were all leaving. And they all got stuck on the highway. And so all of these people that were medical people that were part of the vaccination clinic were kind of in the same traffic jam. So there was a doctor, there were nurses and other medical personnel. And it was like it was county public health, actually. They had 6 vaccines that if they weren't going to get back to the office were going to go bad. So they all decided, they're like, well, we have doctors, we have the forms, we have everything. We just can't issue a vaccine card. We'll have to mail it to them. Do you guys want to do this? Is it okay? And so they went knocking on everyone's car windows and found 6 people they could vaccinate there in the snow. That was pretty cool. Yeah, you saw that, Sydney? Wasn't that awesome? And like there was one person, he was in the car with someone who already had gotten the vaccine. He just had given up hope he'd get it for any amount of time, like it would be forever. He was literally so excited. He took his whole shirt off and got out of the car. Yeah, exactly right. Lots of people accepting drugs. They were like, yeah, a lot of people didn't even ask for our credentials, but some people were like, wait a minute. It was pretty awesome. All right, let's see how my lining looks. Wait, is my sleeve out? Yeah. Yeah, they had an ambulance there and everything. Yeah, it was like just such a perfect thing. Cool. Yeah, I know, Sydney. It's true. Did they say it took a long time? Look at this. Oh. Now I want to wear my jacket the other way. But they did find people. There were a couple of people who were like, no. And other people were like, yeah, give it to me. Yeah, it was such a great story. And they had footage of it and everything. And they were in that snowstorm in their cars. I have been in that exact spot so many times. And it's the whole time. It would be this time of year. I would be driving there for the show in Washington. And it was always like pre-snow or post-snow, and me and Brooke would both be like, okay, we're gonna make it there and back, and the Clemis crew as well. And I would hate to get stuck in that area because there's nothing. It is just like a 2-lane freeway with trees everywhere. No, like you're not getting off the freeway and hanging out at a gas station. You're stuck. Hopefully you have enough gas stuck. So that was probably pretty entertaining. All right, so we are at the really fun step of starting to bag our lining to our coat. What time is it? It's 1 o'clock exactly. You know how tempted I am to keep going, but I think we should do that all in one step. So try and catch up to me. Right, Nancy? Yeah. Oh, nice, Eliza. I'm glad to hear that. I can't wait either. I can't wait for my parents to get it. My brother, he is still never found a place after the fire. So he has like a little trailer and it's on their property. And so he hangs out with them a little bit. Sometimes he eats with them or, he's around. But he still like wears a mask around them and everything. And he's just so worried he'll give it to them somehow, even though he's super fastidious. And it would just be really nice not to worry about that, And Cricket had, someone at her work tested positive who was super careful. And then she just started falling apart. She was so worried she had just seen my mom. It would all end up being fine, but still, yeah. It'll be so nice the day we're all back to normal. So, okay, well, all right, so I feel like we're on the cusp of such great stuff This is looking really good. So we have our lining, our hood. I really want to iron this hood right now. And then we have our jacket. And just in case you're keeping up with me, yeah, exactly, Barbara. Okay, Patty, nice to see you. Yeah, no worries. I think we're done for the day. You're not going to miss anything. We'll see you next time. See you on Thursday. No, Eliza. I am so sorry to hear that. I am so sorry to hear that. Wow. Wow. It's just nuts. I'm so sorry to hear that. Wow. Your poor mom. You did too, Terry? Oh my gosh, you guys. You guys. You're always welcome to, like, you know, chat about things that are bugging you if you want. I know we're probably your escape, but it's okay for us to know you're going through things, you know? Yeah. You guys are going to make me teary-eyed. I don't want to get teary-eyed right now, so. All right. I'm on page 21. Attaching and bagging the lining. We're up to here, so get caught up to me. And we're going to do these last. Look at that. That's it. Oh, I'm really glad, Terry. I'm really glad to hear that. It's so hard because I feel like as much as time is just running together for a lot of folks, there's still a lot more extra work happening because of the effort to change the way we go about our lives. And to deal with that on top of grieving, I think that that's just such an extra burden. So, nice, Nancy. Yeah, that's smart. I saw that Vreesis has really nice cotton masks made from her color grown cotton, and they're knitted. Like, don't think knitted as in like hand knit, meaning like a knit shirt. They're really lovely, and then you can put a mask in them. Oh, the 27th would have been 90th birthday. Oh, wow, that's tough. I'm glad you're here with us, Eliza. She's only 69. Oh my gosh, Terry. My mom is 69. She'll be 70 in February. That's so young. You deserve so much better than that. And so did your mom. I'm sorry. I really hope things get better, and I hope that there is more responsibility out there. Not quite seeing it, especially in my area. I don't know what it'll take, you know? Thanks for sharing that, you guys. I'm glad you told us. Well, on that note, you guys, stay safe. Keep your spirits up. Sew if you feel like it, but don't always feel the pressure to sew, you know? Just do what feels good in the moment. And do the things that will make tomorrow easier. Because I think that that's great. When you wake up and you're like, oh, I don't have to do those dishes. You know? So hang in there, and I'm so glad you guys are here. And answer my poll, you guys. I told you my landlord countered with the price, but I've been doing really looking at my finances and everything, and I'm pretty optimistic. I'm almost at a break even, which is pretty good. So, but I think hearing your guys' thoughts is really good. It helps me focus, and I feel like I can swing more effort into one thing, which would be great, you know, and maybe dial back certain other things. So I love streaming with you guys and hanging out here. It's good for me too. So yeah, absolutely, Eliza. Yeah, me too, Adina. Yeah, you're welcome, Ursula. See you Thursday. It'll be fun. I'm looking forward to bagging the lining. I'll probably put the lining inside the jacket and see how it looks. But I won't do anything without you guys. So, all right. Have a great weekend. And take care of yourselves. And I will see you guys on Thursday. So there's a chance we could finish the jacket on Thursday. There's a pretty good chance. So, but I feel like we have hardware as well. So it might be Thursday, Saturday. And then I'll probably not stream because I have to move, and I'm going to give myself permission to not stream while I'm getting ready to move and pack so that it's less stressful. You love saying bag of lining? Yeah. It's in the bag. Yeah. I like it too. So yeah. So this next week will probably be the last of the jacket. And then I'm going to pack up. And then the sooner I can pack up and get moved, I can get back online again, you know? So that's my plan. All right. Thanks, guys. And don't forget to answer my poll. Bye, guys.